In a small town in Wales, two identical twin sisters, June and Jennifer Gibbons, were born into silence. From early childhood, they refused to speak to anyone but each other. Even their parents were locked out of their eerie bond. They invented their own secret language, one no one else could understand. Teachers, doctors, and even their parents were unnerved by the twins' robotic coordination and whispered conversations in tongues unknown. At school, they were bullied and mocked. Eventually, the twins stopped speaking to anyone else entirely. They were labeled as ghosts with voices only for each other. At home, they created bizarre stories in journals, filled with crime, pain, and twisted fantasies. It was as if their world was separating further from reality. As they grew older, their obsession turned darker. They began committing crimes together: arson, theft, and vandalism. But no one ever saw them speak a word while doing it. Their behavior led them to Broadmoor Hospital, a high-security psychiatric facility. There, they were confined together for 11 years, still refusing to speak to staff. One day, Jennifer told June, "I'm going to die. You're going to speak and live freely." June didn't argue. It was as if they had agreed on a sacrifice. Shortly after their release, Jennifer died suddenly from acute myocarditis, a sudden inflammation of the heart. No poison, no trauma, just death, without reason. After Jennifer's death, June began to speak, fluently, freely, and with clarity. She told reporters, "We made a pact. Only one of us could live a normal life." Today, the story of the silent twins remains one of the most unsettling psychological enigmas of our time. Were they cursed, or simply consumed by their own creation? From a young age, June and Jennifer were obsessed with the idea of death. They spoke of it freely, as if it were a distant, inevitable fate. Their macabre stories were often laced with violence, revealing a growing sense of isolation. One night, Jennifer had a vivid dream of being buried alive in a casket. She awoke in a cold sweat, unable to speak. June, as always, comforted her in their silent, strange way. In the psychiatric hospital, their bond was unbreakable. Even though they refused to speak to the doctors or staff, their eyes seemed to communicate silently. It was as though they shared a secret no one could understand. Their journals were filled with strange tales of people they had never met, places they had never visited, and inexplicable rituals. Some believed their writings to be a window into their disturbed minds. It was in a moment of rare lucidity that Jennifer confided in June, "One of us must die so the other can live free. We cannot both escape this prison." The pact, it seemed, had been made long before. June promised to honor Jennifer's wish, but the truth was darker. The sisters were trapped in a strange psychological bond. Both believed that they needed each other to survive, yet they also feared what their death would mean. Jennifer's sudden death from myocarditis left doctors baffled. There was no explanation for her swift demise. It was as though her body had simply given out, leaving June to confront the terrifying reality of their pact. After Jennifer's death, June finally spoke. Her voice was soft, hesitant, but it carried the weight of everything they had been through. For the first time in her life, she was alone, but she could finally express herself. June's first words were chilling. "I never wanted to be free. I never wanted to lose her." The haunting realization of the bond they had shared washed over her, leaving her to mourn the loss of her twin. When reporters interviewed June after Jennifer's death, her answers were unnervingly calm. "We had a pact," she stated. "One of us had to go for the other to live." The world was captivated by the chilling simplicity of her words. June tried to live a normal life after Jennifer's death, but her world was shattered. She was forever haunted by the memory of their bond and the sense that something unnatural had tied them together. The story of June and Jennifer's strange, silent existence lives on. To this day, their tale raises questions about the human mind, the depths of obsession, and the eerie power of an unspoken bond. In the years following Jennifer's death, June struggled with overwhelming guilt. She couldn't shake the feeling that she had failed Jennifer, that the pact had been real, and she was the one who had to live with the consequences. Psychiatrists have speculated that the twins' silence was a form of shared delusion, an escape from the trauma of their environment. Others suggest they may have had an unspoken connection that transcended the ordinary. Some believe that the bond between June and Jennifer was cursed. The death pact they made may have been a manifestation of something darker, an inevitable end that couldn't be avoided. Was their silence a symptom of a deeper psychological illness, or was it something more supernatural? No one could ever truly explain the depths of their strange behavior or their unbreakable connection. After Jennifer's death, June attempted to live a normal life, but the silence in their bond lingered. She never fully recovered from the trauma of losing her twin. Even years after her twin's death, June still spoke of Jennifer in the present tense. It was as though she never truly let go of the bond they shared. The story of June and Jennifer Gibbons became a source of fascination for many. It inspired books, documentaries, and movies, each exploring the unsettling bond between the twins. To this day, the story of the silent twins raises more questions than answers. What really happened between June and Jennifer? Was their connection supernatural or simply the product of a disturbed mind? Some stories remain mysteries forever. After Jennifer's death, June returned to her family, but she was never the same. The silence that once bound the twins was now an oppressive weight, and June could no longer escape the haunting memories of the pact she'd made. Though she could now speak, June fell silent once more. The words she spoke seemed hollow, as if they were spoken for the sake of speaking, not to connect with the world around her. June often spoke about feeling Jennifer's presence around her. She'd hear whispers and see shadows out of the corner of her eye. It was as if her twin was still watching her, bound to her in death as they were in life. The media was captivated by the story of the silent twins. Reporters and psychologists flocked to June, hoping to understand the bond between the two sisters. But no one could truly comprehend the depth of the connection they shared. In one interview, June revealed that she felt a heavy guilt after Jennifer's death. "I should have gone with her," she said. "We were meant to be together. I wasn't supposed to live without her." Psychologists who studied the twins' journals found disturbing symbols that seemed to represent a twisted, unspoken ritual. Some claimed it was a form of subconscious communication, while others believed it was evidence of something darker at play. In her isolation, June struggled with her own mind. She spoke of hearing Jennifer's voice, telling her to join her, to end her suffering. The boundary between the living and the dead seemed to blur, leaving June trapped in a nightmare of her own making. Despite her guilt, June feared death, specifically the thought of being with Jennifer again. She became obsessed with the idea that Jennifer's death was not the end, but merely the beginning of something far more terrifying. Some whispered that June had made a second pact, this time with herself, to die and join Jennifer in the afterlife. But June never openly admitted it. Was the guilt too much for her to bear, or was it a deep-seated desire to reunite with her twin? Even after her release, Broadmoor Hospital remained a central part of June's life. She spoke often of the ward, recalling the eerie silence and the cold, watching eyes of the staff. She sometimes said that the building itself seemed to be alive, haunted by something darker. As the years passed, June withdrew into complete silence once more. It was as if her twin had never truly left, and the silence between them had returned, this time without the comfort of companionship.